Well, it's been a year and a half in the making, and now a scathing report reveals that the Mounties were totally out of line when they seized hundreds of legal weapons from private homes during those floods in High River, Alberta. Lauren Gunter joins us now because, sir, you've probably covered this issue more than anybody, because when it came to light, it seemed very, very strange that Mounties, who were trying to protect the public interest, would still be able to go into homes and remove guns that were stored properly, and yet hundreds went missing. So what does the report say that we should be looking at?
The report is good as far as it goes. The Civilian Review and Complaints Commission of the RCMP is limited in what it can look at. It can't subpoena witnesses, for instance. They wanted very badly to talk to a fellow named Ross Shapka, who was the emergency management coordinator for the town of High River, but he refused to talk to them, and so they've laid a lot of the blame at his feet. But the key findings from our viewpoint is that in lots of cases the Mounties were not lawfully authorized, is the terminology in the report. They were illegally in homes. Yeah. And in some cases, even when they were legally in homes, the searches they conducted were illegal. So most of the guns, or at least a good percentage of the 600 plus guns that were taken from private homes in High River following the flood in June of 2013, a good portion of them were taken illegally. Mm-hmm. And the commission is quite kind to the RCMP, and it says that they think most of this was fairly goodwill, but that doesn't mean that it absolves them of the responsibility for having illegally seized these firearms. And I'm a little disappointed by the fact that the report's conclusion is that the RCMP needs to change its policy on how it does these kinds of searches after emergencies, because really what they should be looking at is discipline, demotion, and they're not doing that. So it's a little bit disappointing in that respect. But this is a much better report than a lot of us had expected, with the delay after delay after delay. And it does very clearly say that in many cases, the RCMP were not legally in the homes that they were in. A very good example is that they make this distinction between the searches that were done during the immediate time after the flood. So from June 21st, 2013 to June 24th, they said that they went into every house in town in a 72-hour period, and in many cases they saw firearms that they believed were improperly stored. They made notes about those. And then when they went back to the detachment, they gave those addresses to the people at the RCMP detachment in High River. And those people later went back to the houses and collected the firearms. Yep. And the commission clearly says that Mounties were lawfully authorized to be in the houses in the first instance, because they were acting under the Emergency Management Act of the province of Alberta in trying to save humans who might have been trapped in those houses. But they had no justification for going back the second time to pick up guns. And so this is actually a fairly damning report.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a lot of buts here, because while they may be able to justify it, they say, look, they exceeded their authority in some instances, but, they found no evidence that it was deliberate. Well, you can't tell me going through someone's underwear drawer, moving their private possessions around, going into closets where firearms are locked is not deliberate. I mean, that is so disingenuous, and it's going to anger a lot of people here.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think is very important to bring out of this report is that after June the 24th, Mounties stopped taking proper notes about which homes they entered, what methods they used to enter them, and why they went into them. Now, in the immediate aftermath of the flood, those first 72 hours, when everything is absolutely hectic and chaotic, the power is out, the phones are down, there's 1,500 cubic meters of water per second rushing through the center of High River, they had time to take notes about what they saw when they went into houses. And yet, after the 24th of June, when the floodwaters are starting to recede and the sun is out again, and they have total control of the town because they've forced people out at this point, they didn't have time to take notes.
Yeah,
well, that says
and they
to
obviously
me they're
didn't
hiding
have.
something.
They also didn't have time to go before the bench, because it's one thing to remove a
Right,
weapon
yes.
because you think it's
Very
lying
important.
on a table and
Yeah.
that a thief could go in and get it. Which, fine, take a picture of it, show the evidence that you removed an open, weapon. But you have to go before a judge, and you have to get a warrant, and there's a procedure that was clearly missed that the RCMP is not exactly owning up to.
Two judicial procedures that were missed here.
Yeah.
In the case where you take something because you're in the house under some proper authority. So during the immediate aftermath of the flood, they had proper authority to be in houses looking for survivors. If you take something that isn't related to that mission, you have to, as soon as possible, go to a judge and explain what you did in each and every instance. So they went into 754 homes forcibly. They took around 300 firearms in those first 3 days. They had to go for each and every one of the homes where they found firearms to a judge and say, hey, we took guns when we were in this house.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that the Supreme Court has been very, very clear on a number of occasions that when it is possible to get a warrant to do a search, whether you're there legally for some other reason or not, if there's time to get a warrant, you have to get a warrant.
Yeah.
And so the Mounties, after June the 24th, because they had all the time in the world, they had nobody else in town. They had kicked everybody but emergency workers out. And as I said, the sun was shining. It was a lovely week. They could easily have gone to a judge and said, hey, we want to go into number 12 Elm Street because we think there are guns there that are improperly stored. And the judge could have said yes or no, but they just went in anyway. And that's a very key thing to remember out of this report.
Yeah, and so naturally the shield of blue will go up on this. They'll defend themselves and they'll say, fine, we're going to make changes moving forward. I don't know if you can tell me the feelings around High River. Maybe it's too early because they haven't seen the report, but will this be enough for those living in High River? I mean, there are people that say their homes have been damaged, their weapons, they never got them back. Are we looking at a class action here?
Yes, and apparently there will be a class action filed today by people who are still dissatisfied by what the RCMP has been telling them.
Yeah.
And, there'll be an awful lot of people in High River who take this as, okay, that's good, that's fine. They found that the Mounties acted improperly and they're recommending that they not do this again. But there's still going to be an awful lot of people, particularly people who had serious damage done to their homes to get in and to the property that was taken, who will not be satisfied. And I don't think they need to be satisfied.
No.
They should examine all of the legal avenues that are still available.
Yeah, and let this be a lesson to all Canadians. There'll be a lot of people that will look at this piece and say, oh, I don't care, it's just High River and it's just guns and I don't like guns, so serves them right. There's a bigger lesson in here. Know your rights, because there's too many people that just simply don't know what is and isn't allowed. And you have rights in this country, and when police are allowed to encroach on those or breach them, it's dangerous for us all.
Yeah, and if this time it's guns because people are generally afraid of guns, next time
it'll be your
laptop.
pit bull in Ontario, or next time it'll be.
It could be something far more benign, something that you do like. It could be, we could decide that having racing cars is a danger to the environment, and the next time cops go into houses for other reasons, they see you have a gas guzzler and they want to seize it. It's a slippery slope. If you don't hold the line and protect people's rights to own firearms legally, then next time it won't be firearms, it'll be something that other people hold near and dear.
Hey, at G20, I didn't think holding a gas mask or walking down the street with a backpack would lead to an arrest, and yet there I was, almost cuffed. You got to fight back. All right. Thanks, Lauren. We'll look forward to, I know you've got a big write-up coming out on this. Thank you, sir.
You bet.